Okay, in example 10, we're talking about the domain of each function. Well, remember we had said that for log functions, we have a vertical asymptote at x equals 0. So that means the domain of the parent function, which we talked about several slides ago, is going to be from 0 to infinity. But what happens when things inside change? Things that affect my x. So look at A. A, we have x plus 3 in parentheses, which we know means that it's going to be a horizontal shift to the left 3. So that's going to affect my vertical asymptote. It's going to move it over to x equals negative 3. Well, when I do that, that also is going to shift that domain. The domain is now going to start at negative 3, and it's going to go to positive infinity. I'm going to skip B for just a minute. Let's look at C. Okay, on C, again, not again, sorry, but we got the natural log of x cubed, and we're looking for the domain. Well, the x cubed, the cube doesn't affect that vertical asymptote. My vertical asymptote is still going to be at x equals 0, which means my domain is still going to be from 0 to positive infinity. But then when I look at B, B has some different stuff going on. First thing is I'd rather see my x first, so I'm just going to rewrite this as the natural log of a negative x plus 3. Well, how is that going to affect my graph? Well, one, I can see that plus 3, remember, it's going to be a horizontal shift to the left 3, but the negative is going to make it reflect. So think about this as if it was a table. If I was going to do my table, we know that we would take our x's and we would have to subtract 3 and get an answer, and then we would divide by the negative 1. And remember, because x always does the opposite, PEMDAS is also the opposite too. So therefore we add or subtract first and then multiply or divide with it. Excuse me. So let's just look at our vertical asymptote. It's at 0. If I take that 0 and I subtract 3, I'm at negative 3, but then I divide by the negative 1. So now my vertical asymptote is over at positive 3. And I'm going to write that out. So remember, it was 0, and we said we're going to take and subtract 3, and then we're going to divide that by negative 1. So I end up with x equals positive 3 as my vertical asymptote. But now when I go to graph this, remember, not only did it shift, but it reflected. So when this reflected, it's no longer going towards positive infinity, it's reflected. It's going towards negative infinity, which is going to make it where my domain then is from negative infinity to the positive 3. Hope this helps, guys.